there's been an explosion in need for solutions like StrikeGraph, and therefore there are a fair number of solutions in the marketplace, that have cropped up. And really, if you're mapping the marketplace, one of the things that I'll say is that you're going to see some solutions out there that are very much a security checklist. So they skip over the design freedom that you might need, and they go right to, hey, implement these 120 security practices, and then and we're going to dictate to you what those are. And we believe that all companies have the same set of security practices. That works good for a very tiny organization that's just getting started, maybe 3 to 5 people that are very early on. It could work for you, but very quickly you find that there's complexity and nuance to your product and your customers and what they need, and you need to take control of what that security practice is. And so that's where you tend to kind of move more towards where StrikeGraph wants to provide this flexibility to design your security practice and then measure that against the different standards that might exist out there. The other thing that we're going to see is we're going to see more standards. It's not going to stop, right? Like, I don't think anyone is going to say, and we see this with our customers all the time. They might, in North America, they might start with a SOC 2, but fairly quickly they get a health tech customer and they're like, oh, we have to do HIPAA now as well. Or we're breaking into the EU and we want to do ISO 27001 now as well. Or, for example, we just launched this quarter a standard called TSAX, which is an automotive supplier standard. And Audi and BMW and all these guys have decided that all their suppliers are going to have to be TSAX audited and certified. And so we're seeing new standards introduced into the marketplace all the time. And you're not going to be able to handle this on a standard by standards basis. You're going to need to start from what is my security posture and how well does that map into the new standard that I'm dealing with? So that is one thing that's going to continue to happen with this marketplace. It's not going to change, we don't think. The other thing that we think is going to happen in this marketplace is that software is going to take over a lot of what is being done by hand. And I'll give you a statistic that I think really highlights how big a delta there is. In our analysis, when we were looking to develop StrikeGraph, in 2019, $100 billion was spent globally on non-financial audits and audit services. And that's exactly the kind of process auditing that StrikeGraph solves for, both as a implementation for the organization as well as testing and certification on the other side. Now, of that 100 billion, only 9 to 15 billion was actually being spent on software. So we have an $80 billion consultative industry that is very expensive, very slow, and very reticent to change. And software is going to eat into that rapidly. We're going to see that happen. We've seen it with other industries where the spend is 50% or 75% on software and consulting is less and less. And in truth, we have less and less resources, human capital to put towards it. There's a cliff happening in the United States for certified public accountants, where we are not getting new certified public accountants into the industry. And we've seen audit firms double or more their prices just because they can't hire the talent to go and service the customers that they have that want to do work. So software has got to eat into that space. And then the third thing is that I know that there's a lot of chatter about AI lately. And I think I've been through a couple cycles of this with AI and machine learning. I did some back in 99, 2000. We did some in 2006. We had a company in 2014 that was doing a lot of machine learning AI work that was a lot of fun. And I see the same thing. Like, we're building more and more intelligent software. For StrikeGraph, we're investing heavily in how AI does the testing on the security processes, so that it can just be a more effectively delivered assessment at the end of the day. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity for more intelligent machine learning tools and data-driven tools, algorithmic tools that are going to eat into what was happening with consultants. That's where we're going to see the traction. So more standards are coming. I'm sorry. The auditor prices are going up. I'm sorry. And the software is coming along very quickly to help resolve some of those gaps. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. I mean, really a lot to unpick there. I'd say definitely with the software coming in, always one of the number one priorities for CISOs is that automation piece, isn't it? Future-proofing, automation, making things kind of as simple as possible, or taking that human error out of it. It's definitely interesting to see, the AI element developing as well. I mean, there's a big difference to maybe back in 2014 when it was machine learning, pattern recognition, things like that. But now it's definitely come on leaps and bounds to the extent where now they're saying, well, maybe we should pump the brakes on how good it's getting. So, because those 80 billion consultants might actually genuinely end up out of a job, and ChatGPT or an iteration of that will take over once it learns how to pass all those consultant exams.
Yeah. I think what we hope to see is that experts in the space get the tools they need to make better decision making. So certainly even in our testing and audit practice, there is a human in the loop, right? Like we have ISACA credentialed CISAs reviewing all the results of the testing that comes out. That's the insurance of efficacy, and whatever the assessment requirements are, we've got to meet that. Otherwise we can't validly deliver an audit or certification. At the same time, making them less error prone and more efficient is in everybody's best interest, including themselves.
Yeah, so it's almost a quality control step. Everyone's like, oh my God, AI is going to replace all of our jobs. And it's not really that. The difference or the differentiation is between, like, take law firms, for example. It'll be the law firms that are working in tandem with AI that are going to stand out over the ones who aren't. And that's going to be kind of the new standard. So I imagine it'll probably be the same in these other industries as well, in security especially.
I have an example I like for that one. The longest history we've had with modeling and prediction is in weather. And if you want to see where I think all this AI work is going, across any industry, is that the place I like to look is the role of the offshore navigator in sailboat racing. Here is someone who has been dealing with models and predictions for a long time. They're not eliminated from the team. As a matter of fact, what they're dealing with is 6 or 7 different modeling techniques inside the boat while it's actively trying to make decisions, that they're trying to balance the inputs from these different models and predictions, these AI tools together, the current, the wind, what's happening halfway across the world and when they're going to be there, what they're going to be dealing with. And so I think we're going to see that more often, right? Like, here are 4 or 5 different tools or prediction or reports that I'm kind of balancing as I make an assessment and an adjustment to our directionality. I think that's what we'll see, broadly with these systems.
Yeah, just the ability to kind of extrapolate things a lot more into the future, and so some computations that our mere mortal minds cannot achieve.
Right. Yeah. Well, computer used to be a human, right?
Yeah,
and actually, I just read Third Body Problem, which was awesome, but they talk about organizing humans on a large scale to run processing techniques, because each human in a unit has a particular equation or function that they perform, data in, data out. And so, we've just tried to move it along at light speed as opposed to human communication speed.
Did you read that in Chinese or
no,
in Mandarin?
No, I'm not even close to that talented. But what a great book. I thought it was really insightful. Yeah, and intriguing.